Ugh. I want to throw a flag on that game. Not just because there was a billion flags. Seriously, that's the most flags I've ever seen in a game. But because I don't think both teams look like NFL teams, but especially not the Miami Dolphins. Now, this is Game Day Uncensored. I am Dan Day, by the way. Trevor Harris joining me. This is Game Day Uncensored, and I am not going to sit here and pump sunshine. Also, I'm not going to go 100% doom and gloom. I'm not punting on the season. But today, I'm going to be mostly negative. You know why? Because there was not a lot of positive on that field today if you are a Miami Dolphin. Not a lot of positivity. And I'm starting to get sick of this. This is 2 weeks in a row and kind of 2.5 because the first week of naming one person on the Dolphins team we were proud of. Last week, it was Devon Achane. He played his heart out. This week, it's Zach Sealer and maybe Calais Campbell as really the only two Dolphins that I can say I'm proud of them. They really went out there and played. I understand Eric a little bit handcuffed, but it's just getting a little that we have one or two guys really that we can only single out, that we have to search and reach for a player of the game, which we will get to eventually. Another thing, and I don't want to pile on too much, but I've told you for years now, Skylar Thompson is Skylar Thompson. And for the years that I said that, and everyone said, we can't let him go, we can't cut him, we can't do this. What he gave you today is what he's always given you in the regular season and what he will always give you in the regular season. You don't agree? We're going to let you call in. Oh, you're going to have your word. Not right now, later in the show. So keep it handy. 305-567-0560. People said, do you think the Dolphins can win today? I said, no. Yesterday on Sports Day, I said, no, I don't think the Dolphins are going to win. And the main reason is I don't think Skylar Thompson's good enough. He's a true backup quarterback. And people say, you don't have the guts. You don't believe. I said, no, I'm honest. Skylar Thompson, he is who we think he is, barring a long time used term in football. Thank you, Dennis Green. He is who we think he is. And if you want to point to his preseason games where he was a world beater with Eric Izukama, who was in the game today, special teams, Skylar Thompson has done this regularly throughout his short starting career in the NFL. Did he beat out Mike White? Yes. But at the same time, he is Skylar Thompson. Now, he was under duress. I think he held the ball a little too long today also, but he was under duress. We don't know how he got hurt. It could be a rib. It could be a punctured rib. They kind of opined to that. Could be a shoulder. It could be an arm. It could be just his whole body because he got nailed all over the place. Threw some bad passes. It was crazy. Tim Boyle looked better in the time Tim Boyle was in over Skylar Thompson. And once again, I'm just trying to be honest with you. I'm just trying to be honest. Our third string quarterback, and I know they didn't want to put in Snoop Huntley, Tyler Huntley, whatever you want to call him, because he's only been with the team for 2 days. I'm not saying that Snoop Huntley would do better than those two guys, but I'm also not saying he'd do worse. Honestly, you don't know the offense, make it basic and let him go out there. Maybe you don't want to throw him to the wolves. Maybe that game was lost. I don't know. I'm not punting on this season for a lot of reasons. This is the NFL. These guys are all professionals. They're all going to show up week in, week out, make plays. Another thing is, Tua's on the IR. He's out for 4 weeks. He could return and things could happen. We have a lot of weapons, which we're underutilizing, by the way. I forgot Tyreek Hill was playing. 0 targets in the first quarter. You have a backup quarterback. And now if you don't believe he's a backup quarterback, you must not have watched the game. You have a backup quarterback starting. You have supposedly not just the best receiver in the league, but voted by his peers, the best player in the league. And you don't try to target him? You don't try to get him involved? They eventually started to realize, wait a second, let's take a little bit of the pressure off our backup quarterback and try to get the ball to some of our weapons. Maybe throw some screen passes, some bubble passes. Now, Tyreek Hill did drop one of those bubble passes, those little screen passes. So, yeah, this was one of those games that I went from being angry to being just sad and feeling bad that I'm a Dolphins fan and feeling bad for the Dolphins. I went from being angry at Skylar Thompson for being who I thought he was to feeling sad for him. And just the defense, they were on the field the whole game. Seattle didn't want to do anything. They didn't have to do anything. I even thought a couple times they gave us chances. Geno Smith, terrible interceptions. Also, if I was Seattle at the end of the game, I was telling Trevor, when the Dolphins punt, I wouldn't even put a man back just in case he muffed the punt. You give them hope. And then they did give us hope a couple times. We still couldn't even punch it in. It's tough times for a Miami Dolphins fan, but once again, we're not doing any of this. I've heard, scam for Cam or, whatever.
Tank for Tua.
We're not doing this. No.
I don't want to see a tank job because I think those are the worst things in sports anyways. If you want a tank job, go look at the Sixers anyways.
Tank jobs don't work. We know that for a fact. Trust me, we know that for a fact. But once again, it's not doom gloom. Once again, I'm not going to be a lot of positive today.
What is there to take away positive? There's nothing.
Well, we're going to get into it right now. I'm going to get into notes, but 305-567-0560. You can text later on. We will take your calls. I do want to hear from you. Of course, we're live on Twitch and YouTube and the Odyssey app, 560 WQAM. Not a lot of positives, but if there is a positive, I don't want you to be one of these Dolphins fans. Fire Chris Greer. Fire Mike McDaniel. The league has figured him out. Cut, I don't think anybody's saying cut Tua, but, start tanking. Cam Ward could be our guy or whatever else. Let's not do that right now. This is the NFL. This team still has a lot of talent. They're not maximizing the talent. They're extremely injured. I don't know what the answer to that is. I think that's one of the reasons why I was so frustrated today. Injuries just keep piling up and piling up and piling up. And you say, well, maybe they're too hard on them in practice, but they're not. This injury bug is just biting us, and there's nothing you can do about it other than try to get more durable players. And I'm going to get into some of it. Teron Armstead, Odell Beckham Jr. I have a theory about what's going on with them, and we're going to talk about that later. But right now, we're going to get into some of the game notes, kind of take it as it goes throughout as I looked into it. Opening drive, Seattle looked okay. I really wanted them to go for it on fourth down. So many teams nowadays, they get in that kind of 30, 40-yard line area, and they say, nah, we're going to be aggressive. And I thought the defense was kind of getting it together for the Dolphins, and I said, okay, I hope they get smart and try to go for it. Well, their coach, Mike McDonald, got smart and kicked a field goal, which paid off. Now we get the ensuing drive, and I thought, oh, Mike McDaniel's definitely going to go for it and be aggressive. He got smart. I was like, he's actually going to kick the field goal. We missed the field goal, so he might as well have gone for it.
That was the biggest shank of all shanks. Oh my.
That right there should have told you something, but nonetheless, we learned our lesson from going for it on fourth down early in games. Kick the field goal. We missed the field goal. There you go, Dolphins. Great job. Skylar Thompson, I thought, really, you needed to treat him like Tua last year. Get it out quick. Don't think, because it looked like he was a deer in the headlights. It looked like he was thinking when they made quick plays to guys like Jalen Waddle, where it's quick three-step drop, pass. He looked okay. But the second he started thinking about things, he got really nasty.
He got scatterbrained and stuff when we thought too many things at one time.
No thinking,
it was bad.
But that's the thing. And you're saying, and you're probably saying to yourself, well, he's put in a tough position. Well, no, that's what he is. That's what he's capable of. That's what I expected him to look like. That's what he's looked like in regular season games. That's who he is. It's like the guy who says the final, I equate this to a final track meet. When I was running in high school, I was a junior, I was running the 2 mile. Another guy was a senior, and I always ran, 10:30, 10:40, 2 miles. And he never got past 11:30. And he's like, you know what? It's my last race. I'm just going to have to forget about the pain, go all out, and just make it happen. And he really believed he could do it, but you just don't have it in you. And of course, he ran like an 11:30, 2 mile. It's like me. I want to dunk a basketball. I'm just going to keep practicing, and I'm going to just give it my all. He doesn't have it in him. I'm not saying he can't win a game, which he has won a game starting in the NFL, but he doesn't have it in him to be Tua Tagovailoa, to be Patrick Mahomes, to be a big-time starting quarterback in the NFL. He has it in him to win the second-string quarterback in the NFL and maybe hold up for a couple of games. And now we don't even know if he's going to hold up for a game because he went out with the injury and we really don't know. But Skylar Thompson, I thought that they put him at a bad position too. They didn't throw a lot to Tyreek Hill. They did not throw a lot to Jalen Waddle. They didn't seem to really try to get them involved with a lot of the stuff. Maybe it's because the defense was taking it away. Maybe it's because Skylar Thompson just didn't have it in him, but it just seemed like, man, I literally 0 targets for Tyreek Hill, Hall of Fame, still in his prime, wide receiver with a backup quarterback in, 0 targets in the first quarter. You would think you would make it a point. Tyreek Hill.
Get him the ball.
Get him the ball.
The ball.
Best player in the game. How about you make it easy on your backup quarterback? Before the game, he's been in the system for 3 years. He beat out Mike White. Now he was put in a bad position. No, we're not doing that. Very bad second defensive series. DK Metcalf, Kendall Fuller also might have gotten hurt. He picked that ball right off the top of his head. That was a sign that things are not going to go well on that drive. But I do want to give some credit to the defensive line and the defense for being on the field the whole time. They did get some good penetration. They did make some pretty good plays. They knew their backs were up against the wall, but I really, hats off to them. They really fought hard. I was proud of them. They fed Devon Achane. I think we have enough of a sample size now to know that he is a major part of this offense. Devon Achane. And I think feeding him the ball is a good idea, although sometimes maybe as much as you try to establish the run, it seemed like we kind of cannibalized throwing to Tyreek Hill and maybe Jalen Waddle as much as we possibly could have. I don't know what the answer is right now. And I know Mike McDaniel's supposed to be an offensive guru, and this year that they're supposed to put in new wrinkles. And honestly, this offense looks like it's taken not a step back this year, but that it's taken multiple steps back this year. It just really does not look dynamic at all. You had your third string quarterback look better than your second string quarterback today. Tim Boyle. You're only able to muster 3 points. That's understandable. You did have your chances. You missed a field goal. And then, of course, you got down on 4th down. And by the way, when we did get this Kader Kahu interception on a very poor Geno Smith trying to avoid getting a safety, once again, kudos to the defensive line. Got the ball on like the 4 or 5 yard line. I don't think a lot of Dolphins fans had this confidence that we're just going to punch it in. So I'm warming up the legs, man. Warming them up, Jason Sanders. Get in there. Thompson early, deer in the headlights. That fumble on that one play where he mishandled the snap, got the ball, turned around, and the ball flew out again. That's when you knew the stage is a little too big. And it didn't help that you're at one of the loudest stadiums in the league. That 12th man was extremely loud. They were making reference to it in the program and the programming. Skylar Thompson looked a little more than rattled. Mike McDaniel trying to help him out, standing by the referees, trying to call timeouts before the play clock would wind down. The stage was just too big. It was too big for Skylar Thompson. Would it have been too big for Tua Tagovailoa? I would hope not.
But you at least have a puncher's chance, maybe.
No, I think with Tua, you got a great chance.
Yeah, like you got a better chance, but it's also Seattle. First time for Tua going up to Seattle for a game, too. So
always hard going across. The furthest you can go across this country, long travel, very much difference in time, very loud crowd. Not a lot of Dolphins fans there, obviously, because of...
No, there's a lot of Dolphins fans. If you saw the lower bowl, there's like a lot of aqua and orange there.
The turnover was terrible that Geno Smith did in the end zone, but the offense was equally as terrible, pretty much moving in the wrong direction and getting their lone field goal. You got to ask at that point, where is Tyreek Hill? No targets in the first quarter. The best player in the league. A guy who almost had 2,000 yards receiving last year and would have gotten it if he didn't get nicked up and hurt at some points in the season. He has been almost non-existent the past 2 weeks. Both losses, by the way. Very, very, very hard to understand right there. I don't know what's going on right there. Terrible mistake. Oh, to end the first. You think, okay, let's regroup. In the first, DK Metcalf, he burnt Javon Holland. I gave Javon Holland more credit than a lot of people do, not just for the punch out in game 1 against the Jaguars, but for a lot of the plays that he's made and a lot of the unseen plays that he made. But it happens to the best of us. He kind of got double moved, and man, DK Metcalf. And if DK Metcalf gets a step on you, you're not going to catch him. And DK Metcalf got behind the defense. Geno Smith actually had to wait to pass it to him to give him a little more time to clear the defense. Javon Holland. That's one of those ones where, oops, I hope the quarterback didn't see that. You hear the crowd. You go, oh, man, I hope he overthrows it. Oh, man. Now I got to go walk back to the sidelines. But once again, that happens. Javon Holland's out there trying to do his best, but he did. He got burnt. Early on, and I mean, like I said, early on, we looked kind of buffoonish, silly, lots of penalties. Both teams, lots of penalties. Seemed out of sorts. We seemed out of alignments, play clocks. It was just, we're bad on offense, lots of penalties. The first half would not end. I think there was on like 7 plays, 5 penalties, 9 plays.
It felt like
6
way
penalties.
too long. It was way too long.
And, I saw that Byron Murphy the third, who was their first round pick, was in there playing, and he got hurt. Once again, he got hurt. But the announcers were talking about he's a big part of this defense. Started making me think, where are our first and second round pick from last year? Chop Robinson did play some in this game, almost got a block punt, but not a major part of this defense, just kind of a part of the defense. And Patrick Paul, second round pick, did get in towards the end because Austin Jackson got hurt. Jalen Wright, our fourth round pick, seemed to be the best pick that we made in the draft last year or whatever, this most recent one. And Jalen Wright's got some points, but you got Devon Achane, who's playing really well, and Raheem Mostert is really, really banged up. Once again, we're going to get into the banged up thing as things go on. Skylar Thompson got rocked a ton of times. It got so bad that sometimes, like, his teammates, I don't know if they were ashamed, embarrassed, or it happened so often, weren't even like running to help him up and see if he was okay. They were just, oh man.
I think they were just going through the motions, honestly.
It was just a tough one. It was a tough one, man. Oh man. Great field position though throughout the game, but absolutely nothing. Great field position, nothing. Seattle, very, very, I don't even know if we're one-dimensional. Skylar Thompson was holding on to the ball too long, wasn't throwing very accurate or even tight spirals to guys. The run game, you can kind of just pin back, run game. Then you get in bad situations like 3rd and 8. By the way, they didn't convert a third down until almost the end of the third quarter. They were 0 for 8 at one point. I know that. And it was just, and I mean, at this point, and you know me, I defend Teron Armstead. He had a great career with Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, and I know he's going to get nicked up, but he's all pro. Seriously, Teron Armstead. Every game you have to leave because of something. This time, apparently, he had an eye issue. Last game, his shoulder, they said his shoulder strap or shoulder brace went out of place. I think he hurt his shoulder. Now he's having eye issues. Teron Armstead is just, and it was just a terrible, brutal end to the first half. I mean, there was penalties everywhere. It was nasty. It was a mess. 0 for 8 at some point. Huge hits on Thompson. Eventually, Thompson, on the one Thompson went out on, I think it was a carryover from the previous hit where he got rocked. Also, at the end of the half, he got rocked, blindsided. I didn't know how he got up. He got blindsided and just totally nailed. Tim Boyle, I mean, I'm not going to say comparatively, he was moving the ball. I'm not going to say Tim Boyle was a world beater out there, but Tim Boyle actually kind of looked like he knew what he was doing a little bit. And I'm not saying Skylar Thompson didn't know what he was doing. I'm saying he looked very, 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 very much like he was not prepared or capable. That's even the scarier word. Not prepared is one thing. Maybe not capable of leading.
That's a good word.
Being quarterback.
That's a good word, Dan. You have to emphasize that how he's not capable.
He might not be capable. I mean, but if you look at the way he played today, and you look at some of it, and of course last year he didn't play, but some of his other starts kind of comparable. I remember telling people, when he was a rookie, he was late. He was a late, 7th round pick for a reason. And oh no, we can't put him on the practice squad. Someone will take him. I said, you say the same thing about Reed Sinnett, and we lived. You don't know football. Okay, those people now, I'm sure. And once again, I'm not ready to punt on the season, and I do think Skylar Thompson can win a game or two in the NFL as a starter, but he is not an answer. That's just the way I am. And I know people are going crazy right now, and not a lot of people are arguing with me. But after what you saw today, and by the way, tight ends not being able to catch touchdowns. Durham Smythe again. Last week, Julian Hill dropped what should have been a touchdown, and the next play, Tua got concussed. This week, Durham Smythe, although it was a more complicated catch, he dropped a touchdown. And of course, the next play, luckily, no one got hurt. It was just a failed 4th down on the goal line, turnover on downs. At that point, we're not even getting a touchdown today. And honestly, the field goal that we got was a gift from Geno Smith. So thank you, Geno Smith, for those 3 points. Best offensive player on our team today, maybe? I don't know. Just frustrating. And like I said, I went from frustration to kind of sadness. Am I right about that? 305-567-0560. Text in. Of course, we'll take your calls later on in the show. You can jump in on the YouTube and Twitch. I don't know what the answer is. Mike McDaniel's play calling this year has been questionable. The offense has looked questionable. Tyreek Hill has definitely not been dynamic. Jalen Waddle, actually, I will say Jalen Waddle kind of looks a little bit more like himself than some of these other guys. Devon Achane, he has been good. He's kind of had to be good because the running back, Jeff Wilson Jr., barely plays.
Raheem Mostert's on the IR.
Raheem Mostert, I mean, he's got the ribs issue. That's going to be terrible and hard. That's going to be everything. Braxton Berrios, there was a Braxton Berrios sighting today. He kind of returned a kick. Doesn't matter with the field position because we went backwards and ended up, I think we got to like the 35-yard line, and we ended up 4th and 39. 4th and 39 on that. So field position, once again, the gift from Geno Smith. Couldn't punch it in for a touchdown. That's when you knew. That's when Seattle started doing this. Okay, let's kind of scale back a little bit. Let's start running the ball. Let's not do anything too fancy. And I like the announcer, the guys at halftime on CBS. It kind of seemed like they just threw it in. They're like, Geno Smith looks like a consummate pro. He looks great. And they go, Skylar Thompson, okay.
That's your QB analyst from Matt Ryan on CBS.
Yeah,
Good
okay.
job.
I think he was just kind of trying to throw a bone. Like, okay, at halftime, Geno Smith had 200 yards, 1 touchdown with that 1 bad interception. Skylar Thompson, 79 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He didn't throw it to the other team. That's the positive that we're taking from all this. But once again, if you're a Dolphins fan, what a frustrating day. You knew you had the odds stacked up against you going to Seattle with the 12th man. They're 2-0. You do not have Tua Tagovailoa on the team. You're playing a guy that defensively, he was the defensive coordinator at the Baltimore Ravens last year. Anthony Weaver was one of his coaches, so he kind of knows what your defense is all about and Anthony Weaver's tendencies and vice versa. So you can say that at least Anthony Weaver kind of had that. And I didn't think the defense had problems today. The defense, honestly, the defensive line, you got to give them credit. They got some pressure. They got some sacks. They made some plays. Secondary, you're going to give up some. You're going to win some. You're going to lose some. DK Metcalf, at some points, looked like he could have whatever he wants. Other times, it's shut down. Jalen Ramsey was out there fighting. I don't think he's 100% healthy. Mike McDaniel was out there screaming. He got very animated. For the first time in a while, you saw Mike McDaniel really, really getting after it. And I think he was just frustrated.
I think he was just fed up with the offense, how bad it was. It was so blah.
A lot of penalties. I think the penalties really, threw him off. And
it's nice to know that Mike McDaniel, after last year, he has some animations of being mad.
Well,
I always like to say it's nice to know there's emotion there.
It's time to be animated now. It's one of those things. It's okay to be cool, to be level-headed, to be, don't let the moment get too big. But that's another thing. It was bad. Okay, I mean, I'm trying to go through each and everything that happened as far as positions and plays. Secondary was, as Matt Ryan would say, okay. I mean, it got burnt a couple times. It gave up some yards to Geno Smith, and we'll get into the stats next. I will say the defensive line, the star of the game for the Dolphins, Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer, those are once again, kind of sad that those are the 2 guys that we can single out as maybe the only 2 guys on the team we're proud of today. I'm not going to say I'm proud of Skylar Thompson. I'm not going to say that. I'm sorry.
The offense was not to be proud of at all. They don't deserve any credit today.
So I'm trying to think linebackers, and everybody was hurt. The offensive line was absolute basura. Teron Armstead hurt again. Offensive line was really, really bad. Liam Eichel, penalties everywhere, false starts. The tight ends, I mean, Jonnu Smith caught a couple passes.
There's Jonnu Smith sighting of Tim Boyle. It's nice to know that offense was.
Yeah, then again, moving. I mean, the quarterback position was, okay, being honest, terrible. That's being an honest assessment.
It blew.
Terrible. If I'm wrong that the quarterback position wasn't terrible today, and once again, I've made it known I was never a Skylar Thompson. When I say fan, I was never he's our guy. I always said he's a backup. He is who he is, and he was who he was today. And you can't say, well, he was under duress the whole time. He did hold on to the ball a whole lot. The wide receivers, to Tyreek, you don't slide, man. They weren't getting you involved. And maybe he was a little frustrated and upset about that. But then when they do throw you the screen pass, you drop it, you walk off. Jalen Waddle looked like he was kind of moving around. Braxton Berrios, whatever. Braxton Berrios. Devon Achane, the running game was okay. It had to be okay for the simple fact that couldn't let that guy get back there and get eaten alive. And at the same time, even if he had time, he wasn't exactly the greatest in quarterbacks. No, I mean, special teams was absolute misery. I'm not saying terrible. It hurt me to watch both teams' special teams. It was just a penalty after penalty after penalty. I thought eventually the referees would even be like, you know what? We're going to keep it in our pocket. And like, that's enough. Enough is enough. I mean, missed field goal. I mean, Braxton Berrios had a little bit of a return, but everything was a penalty. And then, I mean, finally at the end of the first half, there was like 17 penalties in a row. And then Skylar Thompson got waylaid from behind. No, and he didn't see it. It was just a very, very rough day. I don't know when and you know, the thing is, I'm such an optimist, and I didn't want to say this game is over yet. Even when Tim Boyle got in the game, and I was like, okay, it's 17-3, but if you can put some points on the board, you'll be okay. And I was like, man, they really probably, they got down. This is where Durham Smythe drops the touchdown pass. And like I said, it wasn't the easiest, but help your guy out. Help your third string quarterback that's been on the team for 5 days out. Help him out.
Make a play.
Help him out. You drop that pass. I was like, man, they should maybe just go for the field goal. But then that would have made it 17-6. You would still need a touchdown, a converted 2-point conversion, and a field goal. I said, okay, just go for it. Like, you know, you're not going to get it, but just go for it. It's got to be tough times, man. And you got guys that have a lot of pride and that play really, really hard and that prepare really, really hard. And there's just not a lot to be out there and be happy about. And the defense is on the field all the time. And the offense was just absolutely awful. And like I said, I feel as though this offense has digressed last year, not just production-wise, but play call-wise. And personnel has not.
Did you say movement too?
There's been a lot of movement, yeah.
Like, it's been not like.
But like Tyreek Hill isn't Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle kind of looks like Jalen Waddle. I will say that. I'm not going to. Braxton Berrios looks like Braxton Berrios. And once again, he and Skylar Thompson are kind of, for me, in the same boat. Loved him at the U. You know. Devon Achane has looked great. Mostert's been hurt. Jeff Wilson Jr., you barely see him. Ugh. I told you it's not going to. You can't come on and be positive right now.
There's no bright spots.
You can't come in here and say, you know, next week's a totally different week. Well, you are playing the Titans, though. Will Levis.
Monday Night Football. Will Levis. Come on.
You want to talk about a Monday Night Football everyone's really going to be excited to see? That Dolphins team that you just saw put up 3 points against Seattle, and that Titans team earlier today we'll get into was absolutely horrible. Will Levis may be colorblind. The Minez has gotten to his brain because he throws it to the other team as much as he throws it to his team. Oh, man, that is a game that looks like it is going to be an absolute dud.
Thank God that's on ESPN, not ABC.
Once again, I'm not going to go too crazy and say the season is over. Let's start tanking. Cam Ward just changed uniforms, stay in the 305. I'm going to say this right now, and I'm hoping this is the low point of the season. I'm hoping in December we look back and say, remember that night, 22nd night of September, when we thought Tua was injured, Skylar Thompson was injured, Tim Boyle is our starting quarterback for now. Maybe we have to go to Tyler Huntley, Hollandale Beach High. Javon Holland got cooked. What else? Who else can I throw under the bus that I want to? Mike McDaniel not coaching very well. Anthony Weaver, the defense.
Biggest fraud of them all, Anthony Weaver.
No. I know if there's anything that was positive today, it was the defense. Then again, it wasn't like the Seattle Seahawks were in attack mode. Once they
fell asleep. I was like, let's get through this game for the first half. No injuries.
And as a fan for the Seattle Seahawks, you're like, we should have beaten that team by more. Well, I think you get to a certain point where you see what Skylar Thompson is doing. You see how this offense is rolling, and you start saying, and like I said, they were more cavalier than I would have been. I'd have yelled across the field to Mike McDaniel, we're running the ball all 3 times. Stop us if you can. And then tell the running back, just hold, do not fumble. Do not give them any reason. You gave them reasons, still only had 3 points. So Seattle, I'm not saying they did for sure. Pretty sure at some point Mike McDonald said, nah, man, let's just go ahead and let's just take the win. Let's not get too cute. Because, sometimes when you get cute, you have to end up paying for it. DK Metcalf, that guy, man, he's a baller. He and Jalen Ramsey, it was nasty out there. And nasty, I know Jalen Ramsey and DK Metcalf has a history, but also I think the reason it was so nasty, especially with the Dolphins on defense, is this: they were tired of being out there. They were frustrated. They knew no matter what they did, this offense isn't going to do anything. It's a lost cause. They're going out there, taking their licks, getting their penalties everywhere. It was just absolute. As a Dolphins fan, though, are you like me? Are you not ready to punt on this season? Are you saying there's still hope? because each week is a different week. It's a different game. As bad as we look today, we could come on Monday night, 1 week from tomorrow, and look great. And then, lo and behold, once again, I'm being positive. Lo and behold, look at this. You beat a bad Will Levis Tennessee Titans team on Monday. Just find a way to win. As low as you are right now, after all this, you're 2-2. You're 500 on the season. And you have the possibility, and I do think he's coming back, of Tua Tagovailoa coming back at some point this season. If you can be 500 when Tua gets back, you're where you need to be. So it's not over. Let's not doom and gloom things. Today was bad, though. No excuses.
You have the right to be doom and gloom.
No excuses. And I would be doing a disservice to myself and to you to come on here and say, hey, man, RELAX. Yes, relax a little bit. But it's okay right now to get your frustration out. And I know last week I kind of held back a little bit because of the injury to Tua Tagovailoa. And I know some people say, why aren't you holding back? There's an injury to Skylar Thompson. Well, enough's enough. I would be doing a disservice to sit here and say, you know what, it wasn't all that bad. We were going into the third with our third string quarterback and we were only down 17-3 and we had a chance to score a touchdown and do this. No, I don't live in that Candyland world that you might want to live in, or that some people may be. And then some people may not want to rock the boat. Well, their show isn't called Gameday Uncensored. We go by our name, Uncensored, because, well, a lot of reasons, but we don't hold back what we believe to be the truth. And we want to hear from you, no matter how upset or, optimistic you are right now. 305-567-0560. Not a good night for the Dolphins. Not a good night for Dolphin fans. If you made the trip up to Seattle and you're listening on the Odyssey app, or you fired up the YouTube or the Twitch, much respect. I hope you had a very nice trip. I hope you put a little more emphasis on the trip than you did the game. Seattle is fantastic, by the way. I can give you a couple of great bars and places to go. That's there's where my mind goes, bars. 5 Points is a great place. Space Needle, that area, with the pop art museum is really, really cool. I'm trying to help you out if you're on the Seattle trip. I salute you, because that was a rough game to watch. Hopefully you were a little bit like me going in saying, this one might be ugly. And people will say, well, you don't have the guts. I do have the guts. The thing is, I don't lie to myself, and I don't lie to you and say, no, man, the Dolphins, you'll see, Skylar Thompson. Oh, and another thing about this, maybe here's another positive. Once again, I'm trying to be a lot more positive than thought. For those people that went out and said, Tua ain't that great, it's Mike McDaniel's system. You can plug anybody in, and the system will work, and the offense will run. Do you still say that right now?
You're dead wrong. If you say that, you have the right to get slapped silly.
If you say that offense last year was a system, and that it doesn't matter if it's Tua, Skylar Thompson, Tyler Huntley. I do
Teddy Bridgewater too.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Mike White.
Yeah, we've seen the backups go in. It looks that offense looks a whole lot different, but I am trying to wrap my head around why Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle have been so absent in the offense. Am I the only one? That's saying?
Dan, I have been saying that the whole time also.
Now, in game one, you saw them try to run some end arounds and kind of get him involved. Where is that even gone? I don't understand. There's a lot of questions to be asked, a lot of questions to be answered.
What's your identity? That's the thing with the Dolphins. What is the identity?
They have nothing. They have nothing. Tyreek Hill, no targets in the first quarter when your backup quarterback is in. What are we doing? Are we trying? Is it a simple case of Mike McDaniel trying to be too cute? Or is it a simple case of other teams taking it away? Is it a simple case of Skylar Thompson just couldn't get him the ball?
Is Mike McDaniel trying to be the smartest guy in the room when he knows he is a third string backup quarterback?
But the thing is, Tua Tagovailoa didn't get it to Tyreek Hill last week. Oh, yeah, I'm frustrated. I am. And I mean, if you're a Dolphins fan and you're not frustrated right now, come on.
Get your head checked.
I mean, I'm not seeing a lot of positivity on the text line. And we're going to get, once again, I am excited to hear your calls. 305-567-0560. That's going to be in the next hour. I want to hear from you. I want to hear you uncensored. Please don't get nasty and cuss and do all that stuff. But you're more than welcome to share your feelings. I'm an open book right now. like I said, I don't work for the Dolphins. If I work for the Dolphins, let's play that game. I'll work for the Dolphins. They call me up, Dan, before you go on, you know what? Keep it kind of, safe. I'd come on this show that's not called Game Day Uncensored on 560 WQM, and I'd say Dolphins were tasked with a momentous challenge. And today, they just didn't have it, but everything's okay. They're still 1-2. They can be 2-2 next week. Their quarterback's going to get situated. Tim Boyle moved the ball. The defense was getting after. What good would that do? Honestly, if I was listening to myself, I'd say, nah. Skylar Thompson is Skylar Thompson. For all those people, all these years that have told me, I don't know what I'm talking about, I give you exhibit today. Tim Boyle, I don't know. No, I can't tell you about Tim Boyle. I don't know what Tim Boyle is.
I'll take Tim Boyle right now. At least it looks like an NFL quarterback that could throw a ball.
Skylar Thompson, there was one pass he threw to Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill got really animated because it seemed like Tyreek Hill was like, come on, let's go. That was one of the ugliest passes I had seen come out of Skylar Thompson's hand. When they showed the replay, it wasn't a spiral. I don't know how Tyreek Hill caught it.
It was like a duck.
It was thrown hard. It just didn't have any rotation on it. And that's when I was like, And I know I'm getting texts from friends, and we have people on the text line, and I understand your frustration. Chris Grier needs to be fired. Mike McDaniel needs to be fired. I'm going to pump the brakes on that. I don't think we need to fire Chris Grier or Mike McDaniel. I do think Mike McDaniel's play calling this year, not today, this year has been questionable. Chris Grier's drafting. Now, there's hits and misses. Chop Robinson, he played a little bit. He hadn't been outstanding. I know he's a rookie. Patrick Paul gets in because Austin Jackson, certainly you're probably going to have to rely on him. Jalen Wright, your 4th round pick, so far has been the best pick in the draft. I don't know. We're going to be frustrated all the way till 10 o'clock tonight. I don't know what the future holds, even not this Monday, but the next when we play the Titans. I don't know who's going to be quarterback. I can take a guess. And he didn't play today, but he's on the team. I thought, once again, we're going to call him Snoop Huntley, Tyler Huntley, whatever. I'm not saying he'd have done better than Skylar Thompson or Tim Boyle, but I'm not saying he would have done worse. I've seen him play for Baltimore. He went to a Pro Bowl one year. He was
an alternate. He was an alternate.
Well, I mean, it was everybody was hurt. Nobody wanted to play. Doesn't matter. He almost won a playoff game with Baltimore once. He's pretty dynamic. Now, I understand he's been on the team 2 days. He doesn't know a play. Well, there's some things in every sport. Just go out there and ball. And maybe Mike McDaniel will probably address it too and say maybe he didn't want to put him at that disadvantage. And the way that the Seahawks were hitting the quarterback, yeah. And maybe Snoop was even like, nah, coach. Nah, I've only been here 2 days. Nah.
Give me the playbook. Let me read this playbook down a little bit.
My answer right now, and of course I'm hot. I'm not going to lie. And I'm not going to try to cool down right now yet until I go home, maybe drink a couple beers, relax, some Funky Buddha maybe. Say hi to Mike over there, Funky Buddha, Alex, the whole team. I'm not going to relax, but I'm not going to lie and say that I have seen Tyler Huntley make some plays in big games when called upon. I have not seen Skylar Thompson make that many big plays. Show me that he's a big time or even a starting NFL quarterback. And I have not really seen many plays from Tim Boyle, a guy who has played on 5 teams in 6 years and just got signed as a 3rd string. Man, bigger question though. Where is Tyreek Hill? Where is Jalen Waddle? Why are they last week when Tua threw his first 2 interceptions, not even on the field? Now, I know there's rotations and stuff, but wouldn't you like to have 2 of the best players in the league, 2 of your best players, 2 of the highest paid at one point, at some point have one of them on the field, even if you don't want to throw to them? And like I said, I don't know the rotations, but isn't it a coincidence that bad things happen? Now you got to spread the ball around. Don't get me wrong. But it seems like we're maybe spreading the ball around a little too much. Fired up.